As I stood in my empty house, staring at the haunting message on the wall, "Get ready for the nightmare to begin," I had no idea how far my husband would go to destroy everything I once took for granted. Little did I know, this was only the beginning of the most terrifying chapter of my life. It was a regular evening when I returned home, expecting the usual routine: dinner together, a bit of conversation, and a peaceful night. But the moment I stepped into the house, something felt off. The place was eerily quiet, and as I moved further inside, I noticed how empty it felt, emotionally and physically. Every single piece of my husband's belongings was gone. His clothes, his shoes, even his favorite coffee mug from the kitchen counter. Everything had vanished. The void screamed louder than words ever could. My heart began to race. On the dining table, a laptop sat open. Its screen glowed in the dimly lit room, drawing me toward it. Trembling, I pressed play. The video started, and within seconds, my world shattered. There I was, caught on camera in an intimate act with my lover, Jack. I froze, horrified, as the video continued. Every word, every action was recorded. This wasn't just a random clip. It was deliberate. Someone, no, my husband, had set this up. Tears welled in my eyes as I slammed the laptop shut. But the nightmare didn't end there. In a panic, I rushed upstairs to our bedroom, hoping to find him, to explain myself, I didn't know what. There, lying motionless on the bed, was my husband's body. His pale face stared up at the ceiling, lifeless and cold. My scream caught in my throat as I stumbled backward. But then I noticed something else. A large sign painted across the wall above the bed. The chilling message read, "Get ready for the next move." That's when the nightmare truly began. My legs felt like they would give out beneath me as I stood frozen in the doorway of our bedroom. The image of his lifeless body on the bed burned into my mind. My breath came in short, panicked bursts as my eyes flicked back to the words scrawled across the wall. "Get ready for the next move." The eerie silence of the house felt deafening. My heart pounded in my chest, a chaotic rhythm that matched the panic coursing through my veins. What did it mean? What next move? I inched closer to the bed, every step feeling heavier than the last. There was a faint glint of something near his hand. My trembling fingers reached for it, a folded piece of paper. My hands shook as I unfolded it and read, "Karen, you always underestimated me. You thought I was too weak to notice, too blind to see what you've been doing behind my back. But I saw it all, the lies, the betrayal, the mockery. You thought you were clever, hiding Jack's baby, and demanding I adopt him as my own. Now it's my turn to be clever. You've entered my game. Let's see how far you're willing to go." I dropped the paper as a wave of nausea swept over me. He knew. He had known everything about Jack, about the affair, about the baby. My knees buckled, and I collapsed onto the floor. Suddenly, I felt a vibration in my pocket. My phone buzzed with a text message. With trembling fingers, I pulled it out and read the message. "You should have checked the laptop fully. Play the rest of the video. It's not over yet." My pulse quickened as I stared at the screen. Who sent this message? It couldn't be him. He was right there, lifeless on the bed. Unless... Shaking, I scrambled back downstairs to the dining table where the laptop sat. I opened it again and replayed the video. This time, I let it run past the initial footage of my affair with Jack. The screen flickered, And suddenly, my husband appeared on the screen. His face was calm, his voice steady, but there was a coldness in his eyes I had never seen before. "Karen," he said, staring directly into the camera, "if you're watching this, it means you made your choice. You chose Jack, your affair, and your lies. But you underestimated me. I won't go down without a fight. And this is just the beginning. You'll wish you had never crossed me. You took everything from me, so I'll make sure you lose everything you ever cared about. Watch closely, Karen. Your nightmare is just getting started." The video cut off abruptly, leaving me staring at a black screen. I felt the walls closing in on me, the weight of his words sinking deeper and deeper. He wasn't done. He had a plan, and whatever it was coming for me. The air in the house felt heavy, suffocating, as if the walls themselves were closing in. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what I had just seen. What was his plan? How could someone who was lying lifeless in the bedroom have orchestrated this? The weight of his words from the video haunted me. You all was this yea. Lose everything you ever cared about. I couldn't sit still. I needed answers. I dialed Jack's number, my fingers trembling so badly it took 3 tries to get it right. He picked up almost instantly. "Karen?" he said, his voice edged with panic. "What's going on? Are you okay?" "No, I'm not okay," I hissed, pacing the living room. "Something's happening. My husband, he's gone. But it's like he's still here, controlling everything. He knows everything, Jack. About us. About the baby." Jack cursed under his breath. "Calm down, we'll figure this out. Where are you now?" "At home," I whispered. "But I don't feel safe here. It's like he's watching me." Before Jack could respond, my phone buzzed again. Another text message. My heart dropped as I read it. "You thought Jack would save you. Look closer at who he really is." A link was attached to the message. With shaking hands, I clicked on it, and a video began to play. It was footage of Jack, laughing, smiling, and sitting across from someone at a restaurant. As the camera panned out, my stomach twisted in knots. The person sitting with him was my husband. The audio crackled, and I heard their conversation. "So, Jack," my husband said calmly, "you think Karen loves you?" Jack smirked. "Of course. She's been miserable with you for years. You've been nothing but a doormat for her, cleaning the house, paying the bills. She deserves better. She deserves me." "Interesting," my husband replied, his voice cold. "And you think she's loyal to you?" Jack hesitated. "She will be, once she leaves you for good." The video cut off, leaving me reeling. My husband had been toying with Jack, setting him up, just as he was setting me up. Another text came through almost immediately. "Jack isn't your savior, Karen. He's your downfall. Did he tell you about his wife? Oh, wait, you knew, didn't you? You'll both burn for this." The word sent a chill down my spine. I looked around the room, feeling as though 1,000 invisible eyes were watching my every move. Jack was yelling something on the other end of the call, but I couldn't focus. The sound of a car screeching to a halt outside snapped me out of my daze. I rushed to the window and saw Jack stepping out of his car. His face was pale, his movements frantic. As he reached the front door, a loud bang echoed from somewhere inside the house. Both of us froze. The sound wasn't from him, it came from upstairs. Karen, Jack called out, his voice shaking. What was that? I couldn't answer. My legs refused to move. Somewhere upstairs, the nightmare my husband had promised was already unfolding. The silence in the house felt louder than the bang we'd just heard. Jack stood frozen at the door while I was glued to the spot, my heart pounding like a drum. A strange feeling began to creep in, like the walls were holding secrets my husband had left behind. Jack finally broke the silence, stepping inside. Karen, we need to figure this out. He's messing with you. Us. He's not here anymore, remember? He's gone. He can't actually do anything. I wanted to believe him, but the evidence around me told a different story. As Jack moved further into the house, I noticed something I'd missed before. A faint red light blinking in the corner of the living room. A camera. My stomach sank. It was pointing directly at the spot where I had been standing earlier. Jack, I whispered, gesturing toward the camera. He's been watching us. Jack's face darkened as he followed my gaze. This is insane, he muttered, stepping closer to the device. Before he could touch it, my phone buzzed again. Don't touch that, Jack, or the whole world will know your secrets too. The message included a video attachment. With trembling hands, I opened it. This time, it wasn't about me. It was footage of Jack with another woman. His wife. The camera angle was too perfect to be a coincidence. My husband must have recorded this himself. The audio was damning. Do you think Karen will ever find out? Jack's wife asked, her voice laced with venom. She won't, Jack replied, confidently. She's too caught up in her own mess to notice anything. Once I have her wrapped around my finger, I'll leave her like I left you. Karen is just a stepping stone. The video ended, leaving a sickening silence in its wake. I turned to Jack, my hands shaking with rage. You lied to me, I spat. You were using me this whole time? Karen, it's not what it looks like, Jack stammered, but his excuses fell on deaf ears. Another bang echoed upstairs, louder this time, followed by the sound of something heavy hitting the floor. Both of us jumped. My mind raced, piecing together the breadcrumbs my husband had left behind. Whatever was waiting for us upstairs wasn't going to be good. But before we could react, the TV in the living room flickered to life. A video began to play. It was me, caught in the act with Jack. The screen then cut to footage of my husband sitting in a dimly lit room, staring directly into the camera. Karen, he said, his voice eerily calm, I warned you. Now it's time for the consequences. The video shifted to a document, a legal filing for divorce. My name was plastered across it, along with accusations of infidelity and paternity fraud. Below it, a list of assets marked as frozen, and a note about pending custody evaluations. Jack and I exchanged horrified looks. My husband's revenge was unfolding in real time, and we were powerless to stop it. Karen, Jack said, his voice barely a whisper, what did you do to this man? Another message buzzed on my phone. You destroyed our marriage. Now, I'll destroy your life. Check the safe in the bedroom, Karen. The real nightmare is just beginning. With shaking hands, I turned toward the stairs, knowing I had no choice but to see this through. The climb up the stairs felt like walking toward my own execution. Each step groaned under my weight, the sound echoing ominously in the silence of the house. Jack followed close behind, though his confidence had crumbled. His usual arrogance was replaced by visible unease. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, revealing a dim glow spilling out into the hallway. My hands trembled as I pushed it open, stepping inside. Everything looked the same, yet different, like it had been staged. The bed was neatly made, the curtains drawn, and on the dresser sat an envelope with my name scrawled in bold letters. Next to it was the safe my husband had mentioned. "Open it," Jack urged, his voice low and strained. Ignoring him, I picked up the envelope first. Inside were printed screenshots of text messages. My text messages with Jack. My husband had printed every single damning conversation. Plans to meet. Insults we'd exchanged about him. Even the messages where Jack and I mocked him for his blindness. My stomach churned as I flipped through them, realizing how much ammunition my husband had against me. Then came the photographs. Intimate moments of Jack and me, captured in angles that suggested someone had been watching us for a long time. "Karen, stop wasting time," Jack hissed, pointing to the safe. I knelt down, my fingers fumbling with the keypad. To my surprise, the code worked on the first try. The door clicked open, revealing its contents. Inside was a folder labeled Paternity. My heart stopped. I pulled it out and opened it, revealing DNA test results for both of my children. The words, "Not the biological father," were stamped in bold letters across both documents. "What the hell is this?" Jack asked, peering over my shoulder. "Proof," I whispered, my voice shaking. "Proof that he's not their father." Before I could process what this meant, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a video call. I hesitated before answering, but Jack snatched the phone and pressed accept. My husband's face appeared on the screen, calm and composed as always. His eyes burned with cold fury. "I see you found the safe," he said, his voice dripping with venom. "I wanted you to see what you've destroyed, Karen. Years of love, trust, and loyalty, gone. And now I'm taking back everything you stole from me." "Why are you doing this?" I asked, tears streaming down my face. "Because you didn't just betray me," he said, his tone darkening. "You betrayed our children. You made me raise kids who aren't even mine, while you laughed behind my back. And now, it's time for justice." The screen cut to another document, a legal notice for paternity fraud. He was suing me, demanding full custody of the children, and repayment for all the money he had spent raising them. "And don't think you'll get sympathy from the court," he continued. "I've got all the proof I need. Videos, texts, and even testimony from people who knew about your affair." The call ended abruptly, leaving Jack and me in stunned silence. The nightmare wasn't just beginning. It was already in full swing. As the call ended, the reality of my husband's words sunk in. He wasn't bluffing. Every move I'd made, every lie I'd told, had been meticulously documented. He had weaponized my betrayal and was now using it to dismantle the life I thought I controlled. Jack, however, wasn't ready to admit defeat. "This is just a scare tactic," he scoffed, though his trembling hands betrayed his unease. "He's trying to rattle you. No court will take his side, Karen." I didn't share his confidence. My husband had always been methodical, calculating, and fiercely protective of what he loved. If he was planning revenge, it wouldn't be half-hearted. But Jack's bravado didn't last long. That evening, as we sat in the living room trying to piece together a plan, a loud knock echoed through the house. Jack jumped to his feet, his expression darkening. When he opened the door, a courier handed him an envelope and left without a word. Inside was another document. This time, it was a subpoena. My husband had officially filed a lawsuit for paternity fraud. "He's serious," Jack muttered, his face pale. The nightmare deepened the next morning. My husband's revenge wasn't limited to legal action. As I scrolled through my phone, I saw that he had emailed his findings to my employer, detailing my affair and how I had funneled money into secret accounts. By midday, I was called into my boss's office and promptly fired for ethical violations. Jack wasn't spared either. My husband had contacted his wife, who had immediately thrown him out of their home. She had also frozen his bank accounts, leaving him penniless. "We need to fight back," Jack insisted, but his desperation was starting to show. I was about to agree when my phone buzzed again. Another video message from my husband. The video opened with him standing in front of a large billboard. My stomach dropped as I realized what was on it. A massive photo of me and Jack kissing, along with the words, "Cheating wife and her affair partner, meet Karen and Jack." "What have you done?" I screamed, tears streaming down my face. My husband's voice played over the video. "This is just the beginning, Karen. You thought you could humiliate me, take my money, and use me as a pawn. Now, the world will see who you truly are." The video ended, but the damage was done. My neighbors, friends, and even family had seen the billboard. My reputation was in tatters. This wasn't just revenge. It was annihilation. The fallout from the billboard was swift and devastating. Friends stopped answering my calls, my parents disowned me, and strangers began sending hateful messages to my social media. Jack wasn't spared either. His wife's lawyer had filed for divorce, and his company terminated his employment after learning of his involvement in my scandal. But my husband wasn't done. He still had more cards to play. 1 week later, I received a court summons. My husband was not only suing me for paternity fraud, but also seeking full custody of our children, claiming that I was an unfit mother. The evidence he had gathered, the financial deceit, the affair, and my neglect of the children while spending time with Jack, was damning. In court, my husband was calm and composed, presenting his case with precision. He brought up the fact that I had demanded he adopt my affair baby without disclosing the truth. The judge's expression hardened as he reviewed the evidence. Jack was called to the stand as a witness. Under pressure, he admitted to the affair, further destroying any credibility I had left. By the time the proceedings ended, the court had ruled in my husband's favor. I lost custody of the children and was ordered to pay child support. But the worst was yet to come. The next day, I returned home to find that the locks had been changed. My husband had moved back into the house with the children, and I was left on the street with nowhere to go. Jack had already fled town, leaving me to deal with the aftermath alone. As I stood there, my phone buzzed with another message. It was from my husband. The message simply read, "You made your choices, Karen. Now you'll live with the consequences." Attached was a final video. It was from the hidden recorder he had placed in the house. The footage showed me boasting about hiding my income and manipulating him into thinking the baby was his. My husband had sent this video to everyone we knew, family, friends, and even my former employer. My humiliation was now public knowledge. I had underestimated him, thinking he was weak and spineless. But in the end, his revenge had destroyed everything I held dear: my family, my reputation, and my future. Months later, I was living in a small apartment, working a minimum wage job to make ends meet. My children refused to speak to me, and Jack was nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, my husband thrived. He had moved on, found peace, and was rebuilding his life with the kids. This was the price of betrayal. I had thought I could manipulate him and get away with it, but his calculated revenge proved me wrong. After receiving the court ruling and losing custody, I thought my life couldn't get worse. But my husband's final move brought the true nightmare to life. One evening, I returned to my empty apartment, only to find a package waiting at my door. It was from my husband. Inside, there was a USB drive and a handwritten note. "Karen, I warned you. Now you'll see what happens when someone betrays me." I plugged the USB into my laptop, and my blood turned cold. The drive contained several videos, each more damning than the last. They showed Jack and me in various compromising situations, filmed during the height of our affair. But it didn't stop there. There were recordings of me bad-mouthing my husband, mocking his loyalty, and admitting that I had trapped him into adopting my lover's child. Before I could process the humiliation, my phone buzzed. Friends, family, and even colleagues started messaging me, some in shock, others in disgust. The videos had already been sent out to everyone in my contact list. My disgrace was now public knowledge. And then the real horror struck. I heard a loud knock on the door. When I opened it, I found a police officer standing there. My husband had filed charges against me for paternity fraud and financial misconduct, claiming I had stolen marital funds and used them to support my affair. The officer handed me a court order. My accounts were frozen pending investigation. I was financially ruined. But that wasn't the end. As I walked back into my apartment, my phone buzzed one last time. It was another message from my husband. The video was just the beginning. "I'm taking everything from you, Karen. Get ready for the next move." Terrified, I turned around, and my heart sank. Written on the wall in red paint was the same message I had seen in our bedroom on the day he left. "Get ready for the nightmare to begin." At that moment, I realized this wasn't over. My husband's revenge wasn't just about the divorce or custody. It was a calculated plan to strip me of everything and leave me in ruins. Months later, I was left with nothing. Jack had abandoned me, and I had no one to turn to. My husband had rebuilt his life with the children, thriving while I struggled to survive. This was the ultimate price of betrayal. I thought I could outsmart him, but his patience, intelligence, and calculated revenge showed me otherwise. Some mistakes leave scars that can never heal, and my actions cost me everything I once held dear.